On March 27th, in the first weeks of the COVID-19 pandemic, the International Institute for Sustainable Development asked David Laborde du Bouquet, Senior Research Fellow and Theme Leader on Macroeconomics and Trade for the International Food Policy Research Institute in Washington, D.C., to comment on the potential for the COVID health crisis to become a food crisis. Here are his first answers to that large and complex question.
The first point I want to make is, yes, there is a very important nexus in terms of food security and the COVID-19 situation. And here I just quote basically two gentlemen from India in a BBC piece of yesterday, where they clearly acknowledge the situation coming from the coronavirus. But on one hand, they will say, even if we need to be confined, we need to work. When you are in the informal sectors, you don't have social safety net, you don't have an employment check. Every day you work to gain money to feed your family. If you don't work, you don't feed your family. So what it means in terms of the four dimensions of food security that we may be used to deal with, and here I have ranked them for the less impacted to the more impacted. So on the availability side, so if you think about in terms of food production, there is no issue or problem yet, meaning that planting decision doesn't seem to be impacted in the Northern Hemisphere. People already have their input and they are committed, and actually the planting decisions, for example, in the US are pretty high. Utilization, we are going to see potentially with this problem in some nutritious food and perishable products that are important in terms of food diversity. And that can be disrupted first because we don't have people to pick up fruits and vegetables. Then you will see potentially some bottlenecks in terms of logistics, more border control. That will also lead to more post-harvest losses. In terms of access, that will be key drivers. It's where basically we are going to see first loss of income for people, so they will not be able to buy food. And or we are going to see also in some places, driven by panic and hoarding behavior, people are creating basically this artificial shortage with price going up the roof, both in developed and developing world. But really the key aspect that is here written in terms of food security is stability. So the point is, we are not talking about a long-term shift in agricultural productivity or a long-term shift in terms of income generation. We are going to recover, but we have this very acute, potentially focused crisis for a few weeks. And of course, it may lead to some long-term impact. And for some particular group of the population, if you think about elderly people that cannot really sustain themselves independently, they may be even disconnected from the food system at all. So in terms of looking at this, really this question of macroeconomic impact, and if we have less growth, we are going also to have more poor. And so this is what we have done at IFPRI, using the model that is very similar to what we use in Ceres 2030. What we see here is that even if we have a 1% reduction in global GDP, we are going to have more than a 1% increase in poverty and actually of hunger. For the philosophy of Ceres 2030, there is useful things to keep in mind and to use on this crisis. I think first, what we see that policymakers continue to make avoidable mistakes during this crisis. Then what we also have demonstrated with this crisis is waiting is costly. All the countries that are waiting to take decision are going to pay a very high price to this. Last, and it's really this question about, in this complex world, we need a data-driven approach to optimize policy makings.